The recommended limit for sugar is 6 teaspoons a day for women and 9 teaspoons a day for men, according to the American Heart Association. That's roughly 25 grams for women and 36 grams for men. Wait a minute, why do men get more? Well, I suppose it's because girls are already made of sugar and spice. Nah. Anyway, if you've got a sweet tooth, let's talk about sweet alternatives. Healthy isn't just what you do, it's who you become. I'm Dr. Vickie, and this is Healthy Looks Great on You, a lifestyle medicine podcast to help you reclaim your energy, your focus, and your well-being. Life-tested, doctor-approved. Today on Healthy Looks Great on You, we're going to compare all different forms of added sugar. And overall, added sugar should stay below 10% of your daily calories. When you read the label, and I hope you do read labels, it may say sugar, cane sugar, raw sugar, brown sugar, fructose, high fructose corn syrup, sucralose, maltose, dextrose, sucrose, stevia, honey, maple syrup, agave, or aspartame. But what counts as added sugar? Because on average, the American adult consumes 17 to 22 teaspoons a day, double or triple the daily limit. And it adds up to 60 pounds of added sugar a year. Man, oh man, we've got a sweet tooth. Last month, in the Healthy Looks Great on You lab, I taught a group of women how to conquer their sugar cravings. And they asked me, which sweeteners are good, better, bad, worst? So today, we will explore the lesser of evils to satisfy your sweet tooth. Since you've probably heard they don't teach nutrition in medical school, we are going to skip mini medical school today and learn some definitions simple enough even for doctors to understand. Added sugar refers to sugar in any form that is added. Told you, this is simple. On the other hand, whole food often contains natural sugar, and here's the reason it matters. When sugar occurs naturally, it's part of a package. Not a crinkly food package, but a biologic one. Fruit comes with fiber, water, vitamins, antioxidants, and phytonutrients. And that fiber slows how quickly the sugar enters your bloodstream. Unless you make juice out of it, then you've thrown away all the fiber, and bonus points if you know that's not a good thing. When sugar is added, it arrives alone. No fiber, no nutrients, just sweetness and calories. Empty calories that promote inflammation and can perpetuate cravings, moodiness, and weight gain, as well as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, brain fog, and even cognitive decline. Naturally occurring sugar from fruit has health benefits, and that fiber plus the nutrient combo helps control appetite. So are you ready to compare the different sweeteners? Let's start with refined sugar as a baseline. 1 teaspoon contains 16 calories. And I just wonder if that's why we call it Sweet 16. Either way, you're going to remember it now. Sugar is extensively processed from sugar cane or sugar beets. And makers of processed food are pretty sneaky at hiding it in surprising places like marinara sauce, salad dressings, and yogurt. Protein bars or granola bars are notorious for having lots of added sugar. Even ketchup and bread contain sugar. My daughter reads labels because, well, I'm her mom, and she sent me a picture last week of a label of a can of sweet peas, and it had added sugar. And I'll be honest, I never thought to look at the label of a canned vegetable other than for the sodium content. Good grief, sweet peas are already sweet. In fact, I add them to smoothies to bump up the protein, but I buy them frozen. More obvious sources of sugar are sodas, lattes, and sports drinks. And if you want to make one change to improve your health, toss any sugar-sweetened beverages. They're empty calories that add up fast. Now, white sugar is bad, but what about brown sugar? Calories, same. Effects on blood sugar, same. It does have trace amounts of minerals, but not enough to make it stand apart from white sugar. The main difference is the color. It's not healthier. Cane sugar is not a lot different. It's less processed, but it's still sucrose, and the main difference is texture, not health. Wow, I don't really feel like we're getting anywhere. How about turbinado or raw sugar? It's minimally processed from evaporated sugar cane juice. So you'd think it'd be better than white sugar, right? Wrong. Same number of calories, same effect on blood sugar, still classified as added sugar. Geez, what are we going to do if we need a sweet fix? Well, honeybee, let's see. Maybe this sticky stuff is the answer. Honey contains antioxidants, enzymes, and trace minerals. Just a trace, not a lot. But guess what? Honey has more calories than sugar, 21 per teaspoon. Are you ready for some good news? Honey is denser and it tastes sweeter than sugar, so you can use less. It moves up a bit on the scale for health, but only in limited quantities. And it's very important not to let babies under the age of 1 year old have it because of the risk of botulism. I think I heard you ask about the benefits of local honey and allergies. Yeah, well, the problem is that allergies are triggered by pollen that floats around in the air. Bees, on the other hand, collect pollen from flowers. But I love honey, and I can taste the difference in local honey, so I'm still a fan. And I'm also a fan of molasses. That dark, smoky, caramel flavor is thick and adds just the right sweetness to sauces and baking. It has some nutritional value too. It contains meaningful amounts of iron, calcium, and potassium, and it has a slightly lower glycemic index than table sugar, which means the rise in blood sugar is slower, and that is a good thing. But calorie-wise, it has 20 calories per teaspoon. It's healthier than white sugar, but it's still sugar, so go easy when you drizzle it over your pancakes. Maple syrup is another alternative that tastes delicious over pancakes. It also has a lower glycemic index than sugar and is considered healthier. Maple syrup has antioxidants and provides zinc and manganese, as well as some calcium and iron. Plus, it is lower in calories, 17 per teaspoon. Natural is always better, and it's made from the sap of maple trees, but moderation is still key. But speaking of natural, agave is made from a succulent that grows in Mexico and the southern United States. It's a sweet nectar similar to honey with 21 calories per teaspoon. It contains vitamin C and a couple of different B vitamins. But don't get too excited. Bees do a better job of making sticky sweet stuff than cactus. Agave has a lot of fructose and it's often so processed the benefits are lost. So far, we've put sugar as the benchmark for good, better, bad, and worst, but high fructose corn syrup is notoriously the worst. And that's usually what's in sugar-sweetened beverages, in case you weren't convinced to ditch them already. This stuff is cheap and stable, so they add it to yogurt, sodas, candy, condiments, and baked goods by the bucket load. Well, not really the bucket load, but it is plentiful, and it's associated with obesity, type 2 diabetes, and fatty liver. But get this, it only has 16 calories in a teaspoon. Same as sugar, less than honey, and I hope you're starting to see that nutrition is about so much more than calories. So you've got sugar that's processed, brown sugar, cane sugar, raw sugar, and high fructose corn syrup, less processed molasses and agave, natural honey and maple syrup. So what about artificial sweeteners? Let's start with the pink stuff, saccharin. It's got a terrible reputation, but let's face it, 0 calories, better for preventing cavities, no impact on blood sugar. It tastes a lot sweeter than sugar, like 300 to 700 times. And I'm not really sure how they measure that, but it might be beneficial for diabetics. But when it comes to weight management, it hasn't really shown a benefit. But why the bad reputation? In 1970, there was a small study that showed it caused bladder cancer in rats. So they banned it. Then they unbanned it in 2000, and it's considered generally safe, but some say the jury is still out. So maybe the blue packet is better. Aspartame is sold under the brand names NutraSweet or Equal, but it's not equal. It's 200 times sweeter than sugar and classified as potentially carcinogenic by the World Health Organization, but safe by the Federal Drug Administration. No wonder we're all confused. That's the ugly, but what about the good? Well, it doesn't raise blood sugar, has nearly no calories, and has really been extensively studied for safety as long as you don't overdo it. So if you passed on the pink and you passed on the blue, maybe you can try yellow. Sold as Splenda. You can cook with it, it doesn't have calories, doesn't cause cavities, and it doesn't raise blood sugar. It's 600 times sweeter than sugar on the sweetometer and generally considered safe. Some studies suggest that artificial sweeteners may affect the gut microbiome or actually increase cravings. But the research is really mixed. So yes, you can drink a diet soda all day long and not be healthy. High doses may contribute to cancer, but maybe. And remember, we're comparing to sugar, which contributes to so many chronic diseases. Most major health organizations consider safe in moderate amounts. Splenda is found in a lot of zero-calorie drinks, so read the label if you want to avoid it or limit. But wouldn't it be great if there was a natural, zero-calorie sweetness? Well, the green, or sometimes white packet, is stevia, and for the most part, it fits the bill. 0 calories, no effect on blood sugar, and considered safe. It's 200 to 400 times sweeter than sugar according to this mysterious meter. It comes from the leaves of a plant. And one time I made homemade bread with freshly milled flour, honey, and olive oil. I sliced it up and put cinnamon and chopped up stevia leaves on top and toasted it. It wasn't quite the same as cinnamon toast, but it wasn't bad. But it was a lot of trouble, and my kids were young and really not too crazy about green cinnamon toast. So there's that. Other natural sources of sugar are monk fruit and dates. Monk fruit also comes from a plant, also has 0 calories, and has been promoted to potentially reduce inflammation and oxidative stress. Rarely, it can cause allergic reactions. It's sweeter than sugar and can be used in tea, which is undeniably good for you. And personally, I've never tried it, but I think I will. I do use dates to sweeten things like energy balls made with oats or brownies made with black beans. Dates contain natural sugar, potassium, and 7 to 8 grams of fiber per serving. They have healthy calories, but definitely not low calorie. One small date contains 20 to 23 calories, and a big old medjool date can have 66. They're a great source of energy, antioxidants, and minerals, but if you're watching your calories, go easy. An added benefit of the high fiber content is the slower absorption of sugar, good for digestion, and it helps you feel full. Plus, get out the Charmin because they can help you go. So what's the takeaway from our sweet little tour of the sugar universe? First, sugar is sugar. Whether it's white sugar, brown sugar, honey, maple syrup, or agave, they all provide roughly the same thing, calories and sweetness. Some may contain tiny amounts of nutrients or have a slightly lower glycemic index, but nutritionally speaking, they're still forms of added sugar. And too much added sugar increases the risk of weight gain, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and even cognitive decline. The better strategy isn't finding the perfect sweetener, it's needing less sweetness in the first place. And that's exactly what we did in the Healthy Looks Great on You lab in February. And one woman lost 2 inches in her waist as we learned to build meals around whole foods like vegetables, fruit, beans, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. Gradually, your taste buds reset, and suddenly, fruit tastes sweeter. You'd rather have a cherry than dessert. And you don't need all that sugary stuff and your constant cravings for something sweet start to fade. If you missed the lab in February, don't worry, you can still grab the content, the teaching videos, the motivational moments, the challenges, and the weekly 3 action steps. It's doable and it works. And if you're ready to invest only $9.50, just go to healthylooksgreatonYou.com/the-lab/ and scroll down to the February bundle. It's right below the January bundle where we tackled belly fat. And this month, we're building muscles to rev up metabolism in March. I hope you'll check it out and join us in this private, paid Facebook group for ladies. And if you need a sweetener once in a while, choose one you enjoy and use it sparingly. So I put together a sweet treat cheat sheet that compares different sugars. I'm going to send this out to all of my email followers, and you can get it too if you subscribe to my newsletter. Go to healthylooksgreatonYou.com and sign up to receive every episode in your inbox. But remember, the real win for your health isn't swapping one sweetener for another. The real win is training your taste buds to appreciate real food that's naturally sweet, just the way it is. That is the healthy choice, and healthy looks great on you.
The information contained in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not considered to be a substitute for medical advice. You should continue to follow up with your physician or healthcare provider and take medication as prescribed. Though the information in this podcast is evidence-based, new research may develop and recommendations may change.